right, 29 minutes to 8. Our conversation continues with P.S. Umi Bashir.
P.S. Even as we look at some of these things, and I think about culture, it's a way of life. It's what people do regardless of tribe. It's how they dress. It's how they eat. It's how they practice. It's things like this. But I don't think we can look at it outside of what happened that essentially tried to obliterate it completely. And that was with colonialism and what happened in this part of the world, which was almost complete assimilation, whereby everything that people were practicing or that they did or that they shared or that they ate or how they dressed, the aim of it by the colonialists was to remove it completely and get them to assimilate with the colonizer. They did that very seriously. And so when we look at wanting to bring it back, must we not then be just as hard or even harder to make sure that it is brought back and that it is retained and not subjected to what I would like to say is just cheap political endeavors at some time when we bring in the issue of tribe and giving this person a job or not, that an entire world was obliterated. So how do we then say we can bring it back? And is by bringing in a national dress enough at the end of the year? Isn't it something that should be practiced every day? Isn't it something that should be highlighted all the time? How can that become something that is so inherently part of society that you have no option to forget it? How can that be done? And I think that's where my mind goes, that we can't talk about it once a year and expect that culture then will be reintroduced and repracticed. How can it be regular?
Thank you for that, Du. First of all, the clash of cultures vis-a-vis modern times is there. When you look at the digital space we live in, from the time of the colonial period where our cultures were not as cool as other people's cultures. We say Africa is our business. Africa is us. We write our own stories. And when other people come and superimpose their cultures, that is modernity, civilization, into our cultures, then it is for us as Africans to push back and express ourselves in the sense that through dances, through our attires, through our foods, that our cultures are here to stay. So we're not adapting other people's cultures because they're cool, or the fact that we've been colonized. Wearing suits and you see how advocates dress in the courtroom, it is all an adaptation of other cultures. So when we take time as Kenyans to celebrate each other's cultures and come up with a cultural, a Kenyan dress, then that shows that we are envisaging a practical unity and appreciation of each other's cultures. We have a situation where our own constitution under Article 11 categorically explains what culture is, the foundation of the civilization of our nation. It is basically, we are putting culture at the center stage of our constitution, being the backbone and the Bible or the Quran of the country. In that, culture is recognized, culture is appreciated. We should not let our cultures die. Our cultures are expressed through music and through the festivals that I so spoke about. The Tobong Lore, for instance, says, welcome back home. Where are we welcoming back to? Why did the Turkana come up with this? Is it because Kenya is the home of human origins? Is it because the oldest fossil was found in Turkana, and that is the fact that we celebrate this festival and welcome all and sundry back to Kenya? Is it why Kenya and His Excellency the President has opted for a visa-free country? These are all now accumulating to that perspective of Kenya is home and that we're proud of our cultures. The digital period, the diplomacy that we have in the globe today is I can express myself on Twitter, dress however I want to dress, and rebuke how you want to dress or how you speak, the dialect or the language you speak, because it is not cool and it is not modern. But Kenya gives us that space, and our State Department of Culture gives us that space of going around the country and promoting these practical cultures. You asked about the dress. I don't know if I may delve into that. You know what they say, City, a lie travels across the globe before the truth has a chance to wear its shoes or something. Okay, I'm being prudent because I'm on the radio. So now, that what was reported about the dress was false, and it was misguiding, and it was complete misreporting to the citizens of this country. Culture does not have a budget of 100 million for a cultural dress. We do not, and we never said that we have 100 million for a dress. And you could even check our Hansard, the Hansard in Parliament, where we were before our departmental committee, and that question came up. The issue was, why is this dress being repeated? It was done before. What is unique about it this time? And why will it not fail this time? Do you have a budget? And as a State Department, we have no shilling for our Kenyan dress. In last Utamaduni Day at the Bomas of Kenya, I myself, with the head of public service, declared that we will have a Kenyan dress by this financial year. But due to lack of funds, we could not attain that. Two, a Kenyan dress was first brought about during C.S. Balala's time, Kibaki's time. That was almost 20 years ago, so to speak. And what came about was Kenya needs a dress, an identity, a pride, resonating with an attire that you wear even when you're out of the country and have diplomatic missions. And the dress was supported then by Unilever. Unilever supported the government with 50 million Kenyan shillings. And that is how the dress came about. But now it was a conversation of within the boardroom where there was no public participation, there was no inclusion and involvement of the stakeholders, or so to speak, the end users, the Kenyans who are to wear this dress. So it flopped. So now when we came in, we said, listen, Nigeria and the western part of Africa have these amazing attires and dresses, the northern part, that when they wear, you can tell them from a group. So we want something similar that unites us as Kenyans. The bracelet aside, the Kenyan bracelet, Ushanga aside. So when this conversation came up, we now hunt for funding. We have applied to different sources, different funds to get support, which we're still waiting for. So that has not materialized.
What do you want to achieve?
We want to achieve an aspect of promoting the textile industry. We want to give businesses to the textile industry in terms of coming up with the dress itself. We want to give a chance to our youths to showcase and compete for a Kenyan dress. And when I say a Kenyan dress, I don't mean just one dress. I mean different dresses, because we have almost 46 communities, tribes that have different indigenous heritage and pride. Okay. So what we want to do is come up with attires that whereby when you wear at Unga, for instance, when you wear in diplomatic missions, when you are this, in even the country, within the country, there's a sense of unity and also support
to the identity.
People. Yes, identity.
But yes, there's already that.
Which is...
If you go to the Luo Cultural Festival, which will be happening, when is it going to be happening?
It will be on 26th to 2nd of January, 26th December to 2nd of January.
I'm sure when you go to Luo, you'll be able to just look and see just the way they dress, and you can tell that this is Luo cultural attire. True, City? Yeah. What does it consist of? There's some headgear, there's some that you look at. Even the Turkana, when we were looking at the Turkana, you could tell this is Turkana.
True.
Cultural wear. The Ma, we know the Ma cultural wear. The Kikuyus, there's the Kikuyu cultural wear. It's brown. We can tell. Why do we need then to do another whole quest?
Good question.
Why not just go and start promoting what we already know?
But you see, you've mentioned 4 or 5 different tribes. We're talking of an attire which accommodates all these tribes. We're talking of an attire which will have the headgear of a different community. We'll have aspects of beading to represent the Ma community. Aspects of, let's say, the sisal, the feathers, different designs for particular attires. We're not talking about where Turkana you have to wear one particular type of attire with the neck piece as a Turkana. The Maasais have the shuka with the beads, and that's it.
So why do you want to mix?
We want to mix because we are one. We are one Kenyan. We are one people.
Let's ask Ndu.
Yeah.
When you look at someone who's from Nigeria and you see this guy, this is Oga.
Okay,
Is it a mix of many attires?
No. So now this is the other I wanted to ask. I believe that every cultural group in Kenya has their own native cloth, as it were, something that they do. When you see Nigeria, for example, you don't have one dress that combines Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, for example. If you see the Hausas in their Baban Riga, it is what they wear. If you see the Yorubas in their Agbada or Iro and Buba, it's something different, but you can identify because you know, okay. And that's where the Wazobia phenomenon came in. Wa is come in Yoruba, Bia is come in Igbo, Zo is Bia is come in Hausa. So it became Wazobia because everybody now brings their thing and comes together. We've not put a little bit of
It's not
everybody
combined
together.
into one.
No, it
From
isn't.
outside, when we look, we cannot tell whether this is Yoruba, Igbo. We just see this is Niger.
Exactly.
True. Now, if you look at somebody dressed in Ma culture and Ma attire, or somebody else who's dressed in Turkana attire, there'll be aspects of it that you'll just see. Okay, I'll not. From externally, you'll not be able to tell that this is a difference. This is this pastoralist community from a different pastoral community. You just see and say these are Kenyan, and it'll be known as Kenyan.
Consider for a single second the changes that have come about from the time when we tried to foster a national dress. At the workplace, conservative establishments like banks where people wore suits and ties, on certain days, they come with casual wear and usually attire that is made of what you can call African fabric. Okay? It's a change. You also find that there are these bracelet type things, like Don Eric has. One sees them all over the place and almost everyone wears it. When I'm not wearing one. So that's why I said almost everyone wears it. They are necklaces. They are meaning what you're seeking to establish already exists. People have found ways of identifying themselves as Kenyans with certain things that they do and certain things that they wear. If I look at the traditional wear that we're talking of, traditionally it was made of skin, okay, not cloth. We don't have the culture of cloth that West Africa has. We actually don't. It's how you modernize that particular wear so that you don't lose the essence of it, but you are able to replicate it so that it can be worn. Because you're not going to, I'm most certainly not going to wear a skirt like a garment made of skin. That one I'm not going to wear.
No?
Yes.
Okay.
But something that looks like it, fabric can be made to imitate it, that will actually have the same results. The diversity that we represent, in my opinion, is to be preferred. Where, even if it's 46 different dresses, because here we have what we call Kenyans of Asian origin. They have their wear. And even then there's a difference. Someone comes from Pakistan, they'll be wearing something different from someone who comes from subcontinent of India. Okay? We have Kenyans whose origins are probably the southern part of Africa. If you look at their wear, it'll be different. All I'm saying is it possible for the State Department to consider, in seeking to find a national dress, why don't you ask the communities represented by various counties to first of all come up with something that unifies them? Because our counties represent communities that already have a certain uniformity. Why don't we start there? Because then you will be clear about what it is that you're seeing. Now, the process that you then want to undergo will be a lot simpler. Because if you haven't defined even from among yourselves what it is that you consider to be the unifying garment, how then do you propel it to the national level? The cultural festival that we have are excellent. Somebody sent me an SMS just now saying, surely, but why do they tell us the week that it's happening? Why don't they tell us these things in advance?
Have it on the calendar.
Yes,
in advance.
it's a calendar, so you know yearly this is what's going to happen, so that people can actually choose. Like the donkey riding that takes place in Lamu, it is now known. The camel riding that takes place, it is known. People know about it, but it's taken time. Now, all I'm saying is, if these things are made known in advance, they'll be just as popular as the Safari Rally. And Kenyans actually have shown that they actually like traveling.
Okay.
They've shown they like going to these places. So you will actually achieve the same thing that you're suggesting.
Thanks for that. First of all, the festival is annual. It has been there. The Ma Cultural Festival, as I said last year, it just started last year in Narok County. So as we move on, it will now be rotating between the 3 counties. The Turkana one has been there annually. And I think it's just for people to be a little keen by even looking at our website, because we always say, we set the dates. The Lamu one has been there since for the longest. I think the last week of December and the first week of January annually. When I think of traveling out of this country and I want to wear traditional dress, the Maasai one always takes lead. I always look at my wardrobe and I choose the Maasai. And most people globally tend to think that is our national dress. And a lot of people are advocating for it to be the national dress. But you see, we cannot sit in a boardroom and decide for Kenyans that this is your national dress. And that is why this time we want to do it differently by including and doing public participation in the 47 counties. What a Somali would wear, and what a Turkana would wear, and what a Luo would wear, and what a Coastarian in Lamu would wear are different. Then how do we synergize this and come up with an attire that would be modest for me, that would be classy for someone else, that would be, cool for another community? And Eric, one thing I'd like to also notice and mention is the cultural diplomacy that has also taken center stage in the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage in conjunction with MFA. We've had the Olympics and we had a Kenya House. Actually, we are only 2 African countries that had a Kenya House in the Olympics. A Kenya House is an exhibition, a country house rather. So we had a Kenya House, and it's not the first time we're having it. In every Olympics and every chance we get sports activities going on in other countries across the continent, we always have a space, an exhibition to showcase our cultural artifacts, our Turkana boy. We carried our Turkana boy so as to showcase why Kenya is the home of human origins. And people, actually, we had so much traffic in the exhibition, and this in turn increases over time the number of tourists that we have in our country. Another place where we also showcased our different cultural artifacts, cuisines and heritage was in Berlin during the Burger Fest about a month ago, where we also took our Bomas dancers so that we showcase our dances. The gastronomy, we went with these guys for Utali to cook food, and people lined up just to taste and see what our ugali was like, what our omena is like, and so forth. This is part and parcel of celebrating our different diverse cultural practices. We also hosted the Kiswahili Day this year, the 7th of July in Kiswahili.
You're saying, Madam Pierce, omena ilipanda ndege.
Well done.
Yes, it flew.
One call it sardines. Sardines. Omena.
Yeah, omena ilipanda ndege. So, and then we had the first Utamaduni Day. I mean, as a State Department, Utamaduni is basically our cultures, and the fact that we have different cultures, different days, different months to celebrate that. We had one cumulating to Utamaduni Day last year in Bomas of Kenya, where we showcased and brought people across the country to come and dance, eat our foods, and also showcase our different attires. Before I forget, I would also love to invite you guys to the Ma Cultural Festival, which is happening from the 6th to the 10th in Samburu County. Come dressed as Maasais, though.
Piers, I have to ask, the things that you've said that promote
Come
culture.
dressed in the national dress.
Yes.
The things that you've said that talk about to promote culture that probably should be stepped up quite some, again, throughout the year, I think are fantastic. So my question is then, if these things seem to be working, why is there the insistence then on, again, coming back to this national dress, which Kenyans don't seem to be really bothered to have, number one? And then it seems to be so difficult because from what you're saying, this is the second go we're having at it, right? The first one that happened, I'm not quite sure when that was, but it happened and it didn't seem to be really picked up by anybody. I believe there was actually an outfit that was designed and made and was showcased. I don't know if people bought it and put it in the back of their closet or whatever, but it just didn't seem to pick up. So this is the second go that's being taken at it. But it seems that there doesn't seem to be a huge appetite for it, but people have an appetite for these other things that happen. So why insist on it?
So it's no, we are not insisting on it per se. What happened is once the negative PR came about that we are using 100 million on a dress, which was a lie, that brought negative feedback for us, especially through the social media.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to clarify that we are not using 100 million for a dress one. Two,
how much are you
we
using?
are not, it's not a difficult thing. It is not a difficult thing because 2002 was the first time this dress came about. And for one reason or another, it didn't peak. One would like to believe it's because of lack of inclusivity and having the end users have an opinion. That is the people at the bottom of the pyramid, the people who are going to wear it and use it. It's not only me to wear it and use it, or His Excellency President, or a PS or a CS. It is actually Kenyans who will wear this. We are not forcing it down Kenyans' throats. We are asking for their opinions, and that is why we're saying sensitization, public participation, and inclusivity is what we are riding on right now.
So what's in the budget?
Sorry?
It's not 100 million.
No, it's not.
How much is it?
It's not 100 million, and 100 million is far-fetched.
How much is it?
100 million is far-fetched. So back then, they used 50 million for it.
No, they were given 50 million.
Yeah, they were given 50 million, which they used for it. They were given by Unilever. It was not government funds. So this time, we hope that it will be around the same. And remember, this time we are going round the counties. We're not going to sit in a boardroom and decide for Kenyans what to wear. So because of that inclusivity aspect, going to conduct public participation, it's going to be different. And I believe it will work. Remember, this is not a decision we're making for Kenyans. So that is why...
so you're fundraising for it?
What do you mean fundraising?
For the whatever budget, if it's 50, 60, whatever, you are seeking well-wishers.
Collaboration.
Yes, of course. We want to involve the partnership. We want to involve partners like Safaricom, the banks, KCB. If Unilever will still like to support us. But you see, we're not saying that we are going to use 100 million or 20 million.
You know,
the bone of contention here, PS, and you've got to understand why I'm pushing on this question, is you're saying that it was a misunderstanding, a misreporting. The 100 million shillings.
Yes.
This is not the true situation on the
ground.
ground. It is not. So how much have you budgeted for it? How much have you asked the National Treasury to fund this quest for a national dress?
You see, budgeting and asking and receiving are different things.
Okay, how much did you ask for? How much have you received?
We have not received a cent. We have not received a cent.
So no shilling has been allocated.
Zero shilling.
In this financial year?
Yes, Eric.
Towards that?
Yes.
Okay. But now you're saying that then you're reaching out to find other ways of mobilizing resources for this same activity?
Yes.
Every county in this country has a ministry that deals with the culture.
True.
Should they not be given that task? I'm actually going back there again. Should they not be given that task? Because it is their community. They would understand this better than probably we do. And then your ministry, your State Department could coordinate what these people are doing.
But you see, CT, there are regions or the counties rather that have the same cultural practices, wear the same attires. If you look at the coastal part, it's similar. If you look at the northeastern part, it's similar. So if you give every county, the 47 county, an opportunity to come up with a dress, it'll be confusing because we'll have 47
Let them have
different
their conversation.
dresses.
Let Kitui, Makueni, Machakos have a conversation.
Yes.
And tell us what's a Kamba dress.
Yes.
Right? Let Taita Taveta tell us what's a Taita dress, what's a Taveta dress.
Yes.
Let Kuala give us all those communities. What's the dress?
Yes.
Okay, that's
this is public participation now. Let them.
And
let those in Luo Nyanza tell us what is a Luo dress.
Yes.
In Nyeri, Muranga, Kiambu tell us the Kikuyu dress.
Let them.
If they want to include the Kirinyaga, fine. Let the Embu tell us.
Let the mayor tell us.
Yeah, but you see, culture is devolved. We have no issue with the counties doing what they deem fit. But we're talking about a national dress, meaning that at the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage, we are here to preserve, promote, and support cultures. So when Kitui comes up with its dress, Makueni, Machakos, it'll be more or less the same, right? So what we're saying is, let us inculcate Lamu, Mombasa, Turkana, Western into that dress. No, as I said, it's not only one dress. We have options of dresses. Because we say one, then as a Muslim, I cannot wear what another community can wear. It will not be, conducive for me, so to speak.
Madam, yes, you mentioned one of the goals is one of seeking to foster unity among communities. This national unity quest will not work if the communities within the country themselves don't have unity among themselves. Let me just repeat it again. And if this exercise we are speaking of is to achieve its full import, it is one where people within the communities they belong to will have a lovely discussion about this is something they can own. Now, when they get it, the State Department, as I said, has a key role in understanding what is going on. Now, you can then decide after they have come up with what each community thinks or the group of communities think is part and parcel of what they consider to be their address. Your task then becomes a lot easier because they will have told you, and the concept and the aspect of public participation will have been realized. They can't say the State Department came up with this thing. It is them who came up with this thing, and this is what they came up with.
And that is why we're saying we're going around the counties for inclusivity and public participation. It is our role as a national government to unify and also give a chance to the counties to have that flexibility of exercising the devolution aspect that they have, whereby culture is devolved. Before we conclude, I'd like to also mention Gede ruins as one of our 8th inscriptions. And as a country, I think we're very excited about this. So we are number 5 in the whole of Africa as having like the most inscriptions. Of course, they say South Africa is the first. And we want to push for more because we have so many heritage sites and monuments that we want noticed and also appreciated by UNESCO. So the fact that UNESCO has given us the certificate for ensuring that Gede is inscribed as a World Heritage Site is a plus for us. Repatriation of artifacts is another thing I'd like to mention. We repatriated many artifacts which were stolen by other countries. We repatriated 5 Ikangos in the last financial year, and we hope to repatriate more. Recently, the repatriation of migrated archives was a win for us from the UK. They gave us 2,600 folders full of artifacts. These are letters between governors, between the British and ourselves.
Where are they now?
They're here at the archives.
Or the National Archives?
The National Archives, yes.
Okay.
So we have folders and almost 5 hard drives of information, intelligence, letters that are here with us in our possession. And we have worked so hard to bring this back to the country. And we've also created employment, Ndu and CT and Eric, whereby as a State Department, we have been hiring close to 3,000 youths and people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. These are through the national product industry. This is kama miti shamba. So at the county level, we work with the county government to have agreements in such a way that we have 30 champions from each counties. We have the Kipepeo projects in the coast in Kilifi, Gede, where we have the butterfly projects, where the communities tend to profit. We have the wood carvings and also weaving industry, and also 300 poetry youth participants that we enrolled.
You'll come again soon, so we can talk about
and also welcome to the Ma Cultural Festival that is starting
Rakuja kununua dawa.
Karibuni.
8 a.m. Umi Bashir, the PS for Culture, the Arts and Heritage, has been our guest. Yeah, the Ma Cultural Festival happening from the